Well, I'm not coughing up blood anymore, so that's good. I'm good enough to at least record. I like how that anytime I get on a roll, when it comes to uploading these, something goes absolutely horribly wrong. So yeah, uh, let's get into this. Chapter 26, my favorite chapter, actually. Sir, yes, sir. With a speech that I have quoted more times than I can count. Okay. The school holidays. The period of time in the school year that practically everyone looked forward to. Except for Weiss, of course. The school term had ended a month ago, and it was now time for students to begin the next 10 weeks of their school year. It went pretty much the same as every other school holidays for everyone at Beacon. The students from the other academies could decide if they wanted to go back or stay in Vale for a month, most choosing the first option. Weiss was forced to head back to her father's home in Atlas, much preferring if she could have stayed in Beacon for the duration of the break. Yang and RWBY both traveled back to Patch where their father was staying, trying to bring Demon along to meet him, but left after said man refused, taking a dog with him that he had never seen before. Kira had managed to accumulate enough money from a part-time job at the library and paid to travel to Vale's beaches and rented out a holiday home for the duration. Jean and Pyrrha had headed back to their families, while Nora and Ren both went off to a home in the mountains they apparently owned. Beacon didn't close over the break, so that the students that didn't have families to go back to could stay and relax. Since just about everyone still had a family, that just left Demon, Rosaline, Josh, Marcus, Jaeger, Tempest, and Blake at the academy, as well as a couple other students. The Angels had taken holidays to travel to Vale a couple times and get more info on the current situation they were in, and buy weapons. Since almost everyone other than Demon hadn't yet managed to procure a mecha-shift weapon, they were treated to a shopping spree by Demon, who had hacked into Weiss's bank account and disguised the purchases as dust cartridges. Kira, being the sniper of the group, bought a massive 55 cal sniper rifle that, when she flicked a switch, the barrel would fold back and switch into a two-handed Kopesh. It was colored a gunmetal gray with black highlights all along the barrel. She imbued the blade with wind dust so that when she spun it a certain way, it would create a miniature tornado that would follow wherever the point of the blade was. 'Cause physics. Rosaline had stuck with the whole smart pistol gig and altered it so that when she spun it in a certain way, it would flip out and form a small Bowie knife that was imbued with fire dust for added damage. She also bought a second smart pistol from Demon and then altered it as well, this time with ice dust. Tempest had made sure to pick out his weapons carefully and eventually settled on something that would cause the biggest damage. He bought 2 lever-action shotguns, not wanting to change his fighting style much, mounting grenade launchers on the bottom of both, attaching a second trigger to fire them, as well as putting a blade that ran across the top of the weapon so that when they were fired, he could use the recoil to cut rather than bludgeon. Josh had wanted to keep his carbine, knowing the weapon would never fail him, altering it with new upgrades like Rosaline. He had altered the sides of the weapon to have 2 knives that were like bayonets on either side of the barrel, although when he flicked a switch, the weapon would fold up and the knives would extend into a hand and a half sword. He changed the firing chamber of the weapon to fit dust rounds, finding it to be able to use dust rounds to incapacitate targets rather than kill. Jaeger had just full out denied the chance to change his weapon, the longbow being something he he was so familiar with that he needed it as it had always been. He instead bought several stacks of ricochet rounds, as they were called by the attendant, allowing him to chain kill several targets with one shot, thanks to their ridiculous penetration power, their ability to never bend or meld with an impact. Marcus had seen the opportunity to buy a weapon as something below him, but changed his mind when he thought of something genius. He had replaced his prosthetic hand on his right limb with a massive gauntlet that had several scanning implements and devices attached to it. He had a blood analyzing vial, an environmental scanner to detect footprints, as well as hundreds more that Demon didn't even bother to listen to, as he explained them to the team. He had also added a special mechanism so that when he flicked his arm, it would release 4 thick wolf claws from the top of his gauntlet. They were about a foot long, altered with lightning dust. They had all kept their armor and uniforms, instead just changing the color of it. Tempest had switched his to be black with yellow-colored armor pieces, and a wasp emblem emblazoned on his chest piece as well. Josh switched his armor to white with gold armor pieces, and having his angel emblem put on his right pauldron. Marcus changed his to a gray color, adding shiny silver armor plating. Yeager had switched his ghillie suit so that it would be automatically alter its color depending on the environment, providing camouflage but not turning him invisible like cloaking. The shopping happened fairly early in the holidays, so that everyone could get used to their new weapons. Demon received a couple of emails from his sisters, mostly on how they were doing. Demon telling them how it was back at Beacon. Halfway through the holidays, Raven turned up and had given Demon some tutorials on Odachi fighting, greatly increasing his skill and prowess with the blade, turning him into an adept with it. He practically mastered the offensive skills of the blade, being able to manage to hit her a couple times while they were sparring, but he still absolutely sucked at defensive tactics, not even being able to block more than 4 strikes when Raven went on the offensive. When Demon sent his sisters a message saying that Raven was here, he didn't get a response for 4 days until Ruby sent him a message saying that she had to buy a new phone after Yang broke it. So he didn't decide to push any further. After spending the entire holiday training, the group was now pretty proficient with their weapons, as Tempest and Yeager had somehow managed to unlock his aura. Thanks, Ryder. Shut up. I'm doing this because you paid me. It was one day before the term began, and pretty much everyone was back. Some students had decided to leave it as late as possible, and the students from the other kingdoms weren't coming back until a week in, so that freed up the campus a bit. Ruby had already arrived, and Jean and Pyrrha were back, while Ren and Nora were kept back by a snowstorm and couldn't get there until the day after. They were all sitting in the dining hall, conversing over a bacon and egg breakfast, when Tempest busted in through the door and walked over to them with a massive smile on his face. "Friends! Associates! Weiss," he stated, sowing his voice with a flare. "Hey, I have decided that since this is going to be the first day I've ever been to school, I'm going to make this the best school term ever. So, we're going to start this term off with a bang." Yang grinned profusely at this, and Ruby, Weiss, and Blake all looked terrified in her direction. With a proud smile, she began her joke. "I always start my term off with a..." She didn't get to the end as a pie was thrown at her by Demon, his other hand holding another one. "Let me guess, with a yang," he deadpanned, casually passing the pie between his hands. "Buzzkill," she grumbled, crossing her arms in sadness. "This seems awfully familiar," Blake stated, becoming a bit suspicious. Tempest then seemed to snap, and his eyes glazed over a bit. Maybe it's the writer trying to develop a scene that is familiar because they missed it during the... His rant was cut short by a brick suddenly falling from the ceiling and hitting his head. Ha! I have aura now, you dunce! This was fixed when several bricks fell from the ceiling and hit him in the head until he snapped back into consciousness. Everyone was looking at him a bit weirdly. What? Why are you all looking at me? Anyway, the reason I came here is because I want to host a training camp before school starts. And why would we do that? Demon deadpanned. Well, because you want to get stronger, he said, smiling a bit. How about no? Said Weiss, laughing a bit. Well, that and the fact that I managed to hack Nikolai and get him to help. What? Demon shouted, looking out the window to see Nikolai standing there with rapid-fire rocket launcher in each hand and 6 laser pointers directed at him from the cluster of rocket pods on his back. Seriously, Nikolai? What? He likes rockets. I like rockets. And he promised me more rockets. You do realize he doesn't have access to any other rockets than the ones that are in that pod. Damn it. Well then, I better get some extra money for this Tempest. Don't worry, I'll pay you in explosions, Tempest replied, a massive smile on his face. Nikolai happily chimed and loaded even more rockets into the salvo, just to make sure. Tempest turned back to everyone, and they looked pissed. So, you either come along, or Nikolai blasts you to kingdom come, he said, while walking off to the training area. Everyone grumbled before walking after him, except for Demon, who stayed behind. Sir, I have been programmed to kill anyone who stayed behind. I don't want to shoot you, but I can't stop. Yeah, that's nice. Just try and shoot me, deadpan Demon, standing there and looking at Nikolai. The giant mech seemed to pause for a second, before talking to Demon again, surprised filling his robotic voice. I can't fire. Yep, I fitted a system when I installed you into that ogre that stops you from hurting me. No fair, he complained, lowering his rocket pods. Sorry, just taking precautions. Head back to the pod, okay? I'll make sure to upgrade your security when I get back. Aye, sir. The giant mech walked off, his thumping steps filling the early morning. Demon being completely shocked that no one else in the hall could notice the 15-foot-tall killer robot. He made it to the training area and found something that surprised him. Tempest was currently standing in the middle of the training area wearing something that wouldn't have surprised him if Port was wearing it once in class. The others standing in a line in front of him. He was wearing a drill sergeant's uniform as well as a beret with a militia logo on it. Not even questioning where he got it from, Demon lined up next to everyone else. Alright, you maggots. This is going to be boot camp to prepare you for the stuff ahead. You may not like it, but you've been stuck with me for the rest of the day. I'll give you that rocket launcher if you get me out of it, Demon deadpanned. Ah, I see you're a man with intellect and wit. How could I refuse such an attractive deal? Tempest nodded, and Demon walked off to the side of him, everyone giving him various looks of anger and envy. How come he gets out? Weiss complained, positively fuming. Well, he is my friend. Also, I really want that rocket launcher. She just groaned and mumbled a couple of things to herself. Tempest pulling out a Hammond pistol of his thigh holster and cocking back the slide. Now, you are going to listen, and if you don't, then I will shoot you in the foot. Are we clear? Yes, they all grumbled. He smiled a bit and fired the first shot in the air. You forgot the second part of that sentence. You shall address me as Sir. Is that clear? Yes, sir. He fired another shot. Sir, yes, sir! They all shouted, some out of fear, others because they wanted to roleplay. As Tempest began his next shouting rant, his accent changed. He sounded more like the drill sergeant, apparently not being happy with just seeing it form. Now, I put in an order to the boss for a crap ton of murder machine wielding badasses, but all I got is this sad bunch of cupcake-eating clowns standing in front of me with a side order crap cakes. I can tell just by looking at you that half of you are just sad, shitty losers, while the other half are sad, shitty losers who don't believe in themselves. I'm going to pound you so hard, the ass, to get you going that I'm going to trigger an earthquake on the other side of the bloody world. You all reek of shit and sadness, your very existence being a taint on this sad little world of yours. An endorsement, the kind of shit that can pass as a warrior here. You signed up to kick ass and take names, but when you actually get to the good shit, you go and cry in the corner for your god, and cry even more when he doesn't care about your sorry asses. You cried so many damn tears that you could probably sail a boat halfway around the bloody world before you even got close to the end of your sad, pathetic river of tears. You glitter princess boat hunting bunch of wimps are gonna get your reason to live shot down, stepped on, and forced to commit suicide. I will reorganize the cost of failure that is your lives, and will make sure to turn your sorry excuses for souls up to 200%. I'm going to make you sorry excuses for throats scream so hard that I'll make it seem as though you're going through childbirth. I'm going to cut down that little bit of hope you ever had of being more than a sad, pathetic stain of existence that you are. I'm going to make you crap more bricks than it took to build the entire goddamn school. But fear not, you sad excuses for warriors. Before this day is over, I will turn you into Titan-killing badass mothers who don't take shit from no one. I will turn you into the best damn warriors you've ever seen, so you can go home and tell everyone that you are not pathetic or worthless anymore, only slightly less so. Are we clear? By the end of the speech, literally everyone, except for the militia pilots, were godsmacked by the blatant insults that were thrown their way by Tempest. Weiss was just red in the face, looking ready to make Tempest shish kebab. Blake was twitching her eyebrows in annoyance. Yang's semblance was already slightly activated, and Ruby was just innocently going over the back of his speech. "How is he going to turn us into mothers?" she asked innocently to Yang. "Don't think about it. You're too young," she replied, looking very pissed at Tempest, and looking like she was only being held back from breaking every bone in his body by the promise of a missile barrage from Nikolai. Jean was just wide-eyed in terror, never thinking he would ever have to do anything even related to the army, while Pierre was just standing there, looking at him in shock. Rosaline looked to have taken it the worst, and was nearly in tears from the speech, breaking Demon's heart to see her like this. Josh was in tears as well, although it was because he was reminiscing of the first time he had heard the speech from Drill Sergeant Callahan back in Basic. Kira didn't really give a damn, and just kept a cold glare while Jaeger stood there, admiring himself in the shiny pauldrons of Marcus. "Seriously, Tempest, did you have to give them that speech?" "What? I'm sure Avery Callahan would be very happy that I'm spreading his work," Tempest replied, smiling a little before turning back to the others with a stern face. "I didn't hear any responses from you lousy maggots, so drop and give me 20, and count 'em out." Everyone groaned and began doing the push-ups, except for Demon and Tempest, who just sat back on beach chairs they had found and ate popcorn. Everyone from Beacon quickly did 20 push-ups and jumped up, surprised when they saw the others were still doing push-ups. While Tempest saw them, he laughed and decided to be a bit nice and let them off just this once. "Are your puny brains too small to comprehend the ability to count properly? Get back down and count properly, you maggots. I'll help you with the first couple," he shouted, the Beacon students groaning and beginning again. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. "Do you get it now, maggots?" asked Tempest, pissing them all off as he added as much sarcasm as he could to the words. They all responded with a "Sir, yes, sir!" and about a minute later, everyone was done. "You performed absolutely terribly, just to let you know. So now, we will be ensuring that you know how to perform a push-up. Give me 100 extra, just to make sure you know." Yang, Ruby, Blake, Pierre, Josh, Kira, Jaeger, and Marcus all took this in stride, getting down and beginning, before he had a chance to yell at them again. Jean and Weiss were hesitant to say the least, both complaining before being silenced by a pistol shot to the foot. All the while, Demon looked on in mute pleasure, glad they couldn't see his colossal smile on his face. "This is going to be the most enjoyable day of my life," he thought, just as Tempest pulled the pin on a grenade and chucked it into the middle of the group, making them scramble like chickens. Definitely the best day ever. Despite being my favorite chapter of all time, that Drill Sergeant's part was a bitch to record, but so worth it. Anyways, have a fantastic day, all of you.